After a pretty hectic year, the 2023 F1 season has come to a close. While we might not have seen a close dogfight at the top of the standings, the year was still a spectacular one with plenty of incredible moments. So what are the 7 best moments from the 2023 F1 season? Let's take a look at some of the most insane moments from a brilliant F1 season. Ocon's Monaco magic. Monaco has been the place for a variety of incredible F1 moments across the history of the sport. This season's race certainly lived up to expectations and shut up those fans who said that the Monaco race is always boring. It certainly wasn't a boring race for the fans, especially for those who made the short trip over from France to see the race. That's because Esteban Ocon delivered one of the drives of the season to give his Alpine team an unlikely podium. Ocon had done well to qualify in 4th, but early on into the race, Ocon and Carlos Sainz made contact. Things worked out well for Ocon when Ferrari pitted Sainz late, and he came back out behind Ocon. The Frenchman handled the conditions really well as other drivers crashed out. He came home 3rd, becoming the first Frenchman to get on the podium in Monaco since 1996. Driver of the day and a podium for his team was a very good day for Alpine. Chaos in Australia. When you look back at the 2023 season, you might not think that there were many exciting races, with Max Verstappen dominating the championship better than anybody in the history of the sport. But in Australia, all hell broke loose. In one of the craziest races in recent years, there were 8 retirements, 3 red flags, and multiple safety cars in a crazy weekend all around. Alex Albon brought out the first red flag after 6 laps and a collision with the wall. Kevin Magnussen brought out the second red flag not long before the end of the race. The race restarted with a huge incident, 4 cars taking themselves out of the race in a single corner. It was a massive pile-up, and the race was red flagged for an astonishing 3rd time. All the cars held their position to the flag, and there ended up being only 12 cars crossing the finish line. Max wins 10 in a row. While the rest of the grid might have had a chaotic year, there was one Dutchman who looked cool, calm, and collected throughout. Max Verstappen made the rest of the F1 grid look like they were driving go-karts in 2023. It was a spectacular season, with a crowning achievement arguably taking place in Monza. With Ferrari's Carlos Sainz on pole, Max had some work to do to keep up his streak of 9 race wins in a row. Sainz got a good start off the line and held the lead for the first 14 laps of the race. The Spaniard was brilliant in defense, but there is only so much you can do when that Red Bull is steaming up behind you. Carlos Sainz made a tiny mistake heading into the first corner, locking his wheels and giving Max the chance to pass him. Verstappen was uninterrupted the rest of the race, cruising his way to an impressive race win, with Sergio Perez making it a 1-2. While the win in itself was impressive, Max made history with his win in Italy. It was his 10th win in a row, breaking former Red Bull driver Sebastian Vettel's record of 9 wins in a row. An incredible achievement from a man who wrote himself into the history books in 2023. Alonso starts the season in hit form. Cast your mind back to February 2023. While we were preparing for a new Formula 1 season, the talk of pre-season testing was the impressive form of Aston Martin. Lawrence Stroll's team looked impressive, but nobody knew whether they could actually turn that testing pace into World Championship points. Well, the car was fast, very fast in fact. In the hands of Fernando Alonso, the Aston Martin car, one of the fastest on the grid. In Bahrain, Alonso kicked off the season in outstanding form. Having put his car in 5th on the grid, he would rise to 3rd by the end of the race despite contact with his teammate. What might have been even more surprising is that Alonso continued this form with the team. Alonso was on the podium for the first 3 races and 6 of the first 8 races. Throughout the season, Fernando continually well outperformed Lance Stroll, eventually racking up 8 podiums in total. While Max had the most accomplishments, Fernando might have had an equally impressive season. No one would have thought that he would have outscored both Ferraris, both McLarens, and George Russell. Yep, that's exactly what he did. McLaren's turnaround. While Aston Martin were on fire to start the season, one of F1's most successful teams started off the year in terrible form. McLaren began 2023 with possibly the worst start possible. Lando Norris began the season with back-to-back 17th place finishes, while Oscar Piastri didn't score a single point in his first 2 races. It looked like all of the progress that McLaren had made over the last few years was gone, and they were back to scrapping for points. There was a full-on crisis at McLaren, with some reports stating that the team could lose Lando Norris if the form continued. So it was even more outstanding when McLaren were able to turn their pace around midway through the season. As soon as McLaren headed back to Europe after the Canadian Grand Prix, the team seemed to remember how to build a fast Formula One car. The team's home race was the turning point in the season, with Lando Norris claiming his first podium of the season and rookie Oscar Piastri getting his first top 5 finish of the season. McLaren would finish the season 4th, even overcoming Aston Martin in the final standings. Rookie Oscar Piastri had an incredible debut season, including winning the sprint race in Qatar and claiming 2 podiums. It was a brilliant run for the team, and it looks like they are back on the right track after a difficult start to the season. Sainz wins in Singapore. Carlos Sainz is going to be remembered for many years in the future for one reason. He ended up being the one non-Red Bull driver to win a Formula One race in 2023. That might have sounded crazy at the start of the year, but during the season it looked like no one would get close to stopping Red Bull. While the Red Bull was the fastest car on almost every circuit, it strangely struggled in Singapore. Verstappen missed Q3 for the only time in 2023, and it opened the door for someone else to step up. Sainz ended up being the man to step up, putting in the fastest time of both Q2 and Q3. He kept the lead ahead of his teammate to start the race and didn't look back. Ferrari had to keep their eyes on Max Verstappen making his way through the field, but there turned out to be other issues for Sainz. He had to fight off the pressure being put on by his former teammate Lando Norris. Norris was staying just about in DRS range, but could not get close enough to pull off the overtake on the tight Singapore streets. The Spaniard claimed his second win of his young career in a difficult season for Ferrari. In the context of being the only man to dethrone Red Bull in 2023, Sainz pulled off an incredible result in Singapore. Vegas delivers a great race. 2023 was the premiere of the Las Vegas Grand Prix on a Formula One calendar. There was a lot of excitement for the weekend, unless of course you were Max Verstappen. The Dutchman was critical of the weekend, and he was proven right quite quickly. The first time that cars were on track ended badly, with a loose metal cover causing damage to Carlos Sainz's car. The session had to be abandoned, and because of the delay fixing it, the second practice session took place with no fans in attendance. But the race and the spectacle involved in the weekend made everyone forget just how bad the practice incident was. The race featured multiple different race lead changes, with Max Verstappen actually having to work for this race win. Lando Norris had a big incident to start the race, and there were brilliant battles all over the track. Verstappen only had a 2-second lead by the end of the race, while there were amazing wheel-to-wheel overtakes in the points. Those were the best moments in the 2023 Formula One season. If you liked this video, why not scroll down and hit that like button and subscribe? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.